Mike Stark, he called up Rush Limbaugh, and I tweeted this out multiple times. It got 1,200 retweets off of my tweet. And I did it a couple of times because it's so fantastic. Mike Stark gets on, and I asked Stark, did you lie to get on? And he said, no, they'll put liberals on. And I said, no, I know that. I mean, I used to call into shows, local shows, and all you need to do is say, like, hi, I'm a Democrat, but I agree with what he's saying. And then you get on and you always start with, like, I totally agree with you, but, and then you proceed to disagree with everything. Which is very much what Ronald Reagan did. You know, he would espouse certain things, but all his policies were not of that ilk, which is why, you know, and he was very successful in changing sort of certain ideas that existed, although that his actions were very different from those. Well, I'm going to let Mike Stark go through the litany of these things because he asked a very simple question. And the reason why I asked Stark was because Limbaugh is so thrown off in this segment. He's completely flustered. And it's not like anything actually permeates the minds of these ditto heads. But Limbaugh does one of the worst jobs I've ever seen of trying to dismiss something. And because Stark was so nice and so polite, there was no toehold for Limbaugh to attack him. He just simply sort of like said, I can tell that nothing I say is going to change your mind. It's fascinating. Let's listen to this.
Reagan, I mean, amnesty to people who are breaking the law and living in this country illegally.
Stop. Is this the beginning?
No, I cut a segment. You want me to run the whole thing?
No, yeah, run the whole thing. Run the whole thing. Hold on for 1 second. This is worth hearing the whole thing. It's a little bit long, but it's worth hearing the whole thing. I mean, it's just fantastic. Oh, and quick story while I got you here. Oh, well, as you know, Huffington Post acquired by AOL. We'll talk about that more. $300 million, 300 of it in cash, 15 million in stock. And George Bush. Well, we'll talk about this more maybe tomorrow, but just briefly, I got to tell you a great story. Canceled his trip to Switzerland, ostensibly because he was afraid of protests, which seems ridiculous. But more likely, it appears he's afraid of he won't be able to leave, that they could put him in prison for torture. All right, do we have the Stark thing?
Yep.
Okay, let's play the whole thing. Mike Stark on.
And who's next? Mike, Falls Church, Virginia. Nice to have you on the EIB network. Hello, sir.
Hi, Russ. I'm calling because, well, first of all, I'm a liberal, and I seriously don't understand this Reagan idolatry on behalf of conservatives. I'll give you my reasons. Instead of privatizing Social Security, he raised taxes. We're all paying higher taxes today out of our paychecks every single week because he decided to save Social Security. Wait,
hold it. I need to go. Wait, geez.
The Greenspan Commission. He signed it into law, and it raised taxes on Social Security.
Wait. You're talking about Reagan or Clinton?
All right, pause it right
here.
I'm
talking about Reagan.
Can you pause it? Now, he seems completely befuddled by this because Limbaugh knows this is the case. I mean, we've talked about it on this program many times. The Greenspan Commission that was formed in 82, 83 was charged with saving Social Security. It was in big problems right around then. And there was one time where Social Security actually borrowed money from the general fund. It's since paid it back and plus interest as of even the early, within, I think, like 5 or 6 years. But they raised payroll taxes to deal with this demographic bump that's happening right now. And Limbaugh, he's like, wait. Clinton? Can we say Clinton? Good. What?
Technical difficulties.
Yes, technical difficulties.
Associated with terrorists, sending over and over again arms to Iran in exchange for hostages. By contrast, Jimmy Carter didn't give an inch to the Iranians.
What in the world?
Inch. Instead,
testing
Reagan
the true depth of my politeness here on this call, folks.
Say that again?
Let me ask you, a question. what do you think, given all this, that you believe when you hear Obama and the Democrats cite Reagan, as they have been doing since about a week before the State of the Union?
It's funny you ask that because as a liberal, I think Obama owes his presidency to Reagan. They're both kind of stuffed suits that say one thing and then do another. Obama hasn't been anywhere near liberal enough for me. He said he'd close Guantanamo. He hasn't done that. He said he'd help people out with foreclosures.
I feel
he
for you.
He hasn't done that.
Yeah.
But Reagan, I mean, amnesty to people that were breaking the law and living in this country illegally. He said, oh, forget about it. Just stay here forever. He cut and ran from Lebanon. How many hundreds of Marines were killed? And he just decided, well, instead of fighting the bad guys, I'm going to run away.
Yeah.
Why is Reagan a hero to conservatives?
Why is Reagan a hero to conservatives? I don't think you'd, given what you've said, I'm not trying to avoid the question, I don't think you'd ever understand it.
Stop it for a second.
Well, he's a tax raiser.
Now,
an amnesty.
Given what you've said, I don't think I'm not trying to avoid the question. Yes, in fact,
I don't think so.
you are trying to avoid the question. That's exactly what you're trying to do. And you are signaling, I'm sure, with your hands to your producers, like, what the fuck? Why didn't I have my talking points when you took this call? What's going on here? Now watch where he goes now. Okay, watch where he goes now. He's got to get some boogeymans here, but Stark can't get his arm around it. Now, the other thing that Rush does not know, Stark's a former Marine. And so, he could have gone and Stark is bulletproof on this, talking about the cut and run from just watch. This is interesting.
I don't think you'd ever understand it.
Well, he's a tax raiser, an amnesty giver, a cut and runner, and he negotiated with terrorists. Why is he a hero to conservatives? I don't think you understand it.
Oh, I do. Most assuredly, I do. I don't think that you would understand it. Where did you get this silly notion that Reagan raised taxes on Social Security? What websites do you read? Where did you pick that up?
Look up the Greenspan Commission. It's not too hard to find. I mean, it's a matter of history.
Now, where did you get it? You're asking me questions. I'm just reversing one on you here.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just general knowledge. It's something I've known for a long time. I can't remember where I got it from.
You've never heard of a website called Media Matters, which highlighted it yesterday.
Oh, no, I know Media Matters very well, but that's not where I got it.
It's an amazing...
I mean, I'm a liberal. Of course I know.
Amazing coincidence out there.
They're a fantastic website, but why are you dodging the question? I want to know why a tax-raising, amnesty-giving, cut-and-running, negotiating with terrorists guy is a hero to the conservative movement.
Well, because you understand Reagan in a way that is flawed. You don't... This is... Your call is actually kind of interesting because you represent the impossibility of bridging the gap. Somebody like you just has to be defeated. There's no crossing the aisle and finding common ground with you. You're free to be who you are. Don't misunderstand it. I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm just saying you are unreachable. You don't want to be reached.
Okay, stop. Now, what he's done is, you should know that he's now hung up on Stark. He's hung up on Stark. Stark has no opportunity to respond now, and he tried to sort of tie him with Media Matters, but he knew that he couldn't go anywhere because Stark just gives his general knowledge. I mean, this is not like a secret commission. Everybody knows this. And Limbaugh himself must know what he's referring to. In fact, he addresses it later. So he tries to smear him with, like, you're part of the evil. Who are you, George Soros? Are you George Soros' son? As opposed to... And then he says, well, your understanding of Reagan is flawed. And you have a mental disease, and we can never bridge the gap with you. This way I can get as far away from your questions because my audience does not have the ability to maintain a thought in their head for longer than the 15-minute segments in which my ratings are based. And so I will vamp, and then later get to it when people have forgotten the direct questions you've asked me, and I'm just going to keep going. Play this.
Free to be who you are. Don't misunderstand it. I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm just saying you are unreachable. You don't want to be reached. You have this picture of Reagan. You've just described somebody you should love, and you hate him. You just described somebody you should absolutely love. All these things. He's anti-conservative, as you say, but you don't. You're having trouble understanding why he's viewed as heroic to a lot of people. I could talk to you about anti-communism. You want to talk about amnesty? Yeah, that was Simpson Mazzoli, and that was 1.5, 2 million illegals. And he was told, okay, if we're going to do this, this is it. Then we're going to secure the borders, and that's it. It's the same thing with every tax increase he signed. It was also accompanied by promises to cut spending. It never happened. Reagan's not perfect. Nobody is. But I think the proof of Reagan is the fact that when your guys get in trouble, who do they seek to associate themselves with? Remember, these people, Obama, these people are all about getting votes. The fact that he's trying to surround himself with Reagan, the fact that he's trying to position himself with Reagan is the best indication anybody can have of what this country really thinks of Ronaldus Magnus. I think if you want to focus in on hypocrisy, you've got far more of it on your side of the aisle to explain and dig through than we do. I mean, Reagan was forced to raise payroll taxes by a crisis in Social Security in 1983, and he endorsed that rescue plan that was written by Alan Greenspan. It was reluctant. He was not a big supporter of that.
Okay,
Remember,
that's
Reagan
enough.
did not
There you go.
have a
So there he is.
congressional majority.
All of a sudden now he knows what Stark is talking about because his producer gave him a sheet or IM'd him something that said, yes, this is what happened. He was forced to do. He was forced to do it? Not the great Ronaldus Magnus. No one forces the great Ronaldus Magnus to do anything. He was reluctant. They held his pen. They had Nancy with a dagger to her throat. Ronaldus Magnus, no. Now, the thing is, he takes it into the weeds, and he says, it wasn't his fault. Yeah, there it is. The conservative victimization again. No personal responsibility. And I don't think Stark said anything about hypocrisy or anything like that. He was just curious. Why do you ignore this part of Ronaldus Magnus's history? In your praising of Reagan. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. You know what? I'm going to give one of these to Stark. That was one of the best calls I've ever heard.